Buenos días a todos, bienvenidos. Este es nuestro tercer día dentro de la Semana Internacional de Coaching y estamos muy contentos porque tenemos un gran webinar el día de hoy. Pero antes me gustaría presentar que ICF es la organización de coaches mundial más grande a nivel global, con más de 50,000 miembros calificados y certificados por ella y en donde los estándares de ICF son mantener la calidad a través de la educación continua de todos los miembros a los que pertenece. Y bueno, a mí es todo un placer presentar a Robert. Robert trabaja internacionalmente como psicólogo, formador, como coach y terapeuta de relaciones. A él le inspira mejorar la conciencia en individuos y en organizaciones. El hombre a menudo piensa y actúa mecánicamente, él dice. Se identifica con todo tipo de pensamientos e ideas y como resultado los acontecimientos le suceden sin ninguna conciencia ni elección. Lo que eres en esencia, duerme. Esa es una frase muy bonita. Desde 1983 puso el método de diálogo de voces en el mapa de Europa y fundó el Instituto de Psicología Transformacional ITP en 1988. Los programas educativos y de formación del ITP se han desarrollado bajo su dirección en colaboración con una selección de formadores y estudiantes. Además, ha desarrollado programas de liderazgo para varias organizaciones y también disfruta facilitando el desarrollo de la excelencia de formadores, coaches, terapeutas, gerentes y profesores. Bienvenido, Rob. Pero antes de que iniciemos, tengo también el placer de presentar a Rubí Ochoa. Rubí es también coach afiliada a ICF y ella colabora con Rob. Ajá. Ella, a ver, perdón. Ella colabora con Rob y en esta conferencia va a ser de gran ayuda porque nos va a permitir interactuar en caso de que la tecnología por ahí nos falle, con las preguntas, las podemos hacer en español y podemos estar aquí para asistirlos para la traducción. Ajá. Bueno, sin más preámbulo, bienvenido Robert. Welcome Robert. This is your space. You can start whenever you want.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for the invitation, Louise, and thank you, Ruby, also for the initiative. Thank you, all the participants. If you feel like it, please, you can open your camera. I like it to be, if possible, a little bit interactive, but it's up to you. So what we'll do, I'll speak a little bit about voice dialogue, the method voice dialogue, and how you can use it also in coaching. So we'll speak a little bit about that. Then I hope you can get some experience also. So I'll try to weave in a few experiential exercises with this, so that you not only get the theoretical knowledge, but also some experience to see if it resonates with you. And at the end, I would like to do a demonstration session with Ruby, so you can also see how voice dialogue works in actual coaching setting. Okay? Right. So voice dialogue is developed by an American couple, Helen Sidra Stone, and it sort of developed spontaneously and organically. They started to speak to parts of each other in early 1970s of the last century. They were both clinical psychotherapists, and what they discovered in their own relationship about these parts, these selves, was so valuable that they started practicing with that with their clients. So voice dialogue is a method that's under the umbrella of we call parts work. It's also a method that works experientially with the body, the voice, and the energy, right? So there's an energetic component to it. So after they developed this together in the 1970s, the method further developed. I've been working with it since 1983, as Luis said. I've added also the element of energy more to it. I have a background in working with energy in different ways, also in martial arts. And I find that this energy work goes very well with the verbal work, with the voices. We have a so-called consciousness model, which I like to present just the main points of it. It has 3 levels, and one level we call the awareness level. I'll show you just a little model in a old-fashioned way, like we're in the school, if you don't mind. So consciousness is seen as a process on 3 levels, okay? The first level is awareness. And so we assume the human being is capable of being a witness. Whatever happens in oneself, emotions, also physical sensations, one can be a witness to it without having to judge, without having to solve problems, just to observe. And this in itself has an effect. Nowadays, you have the mindfulness movement, which is also very much based on awareness. And this is applied to people with like chronic pain, all kind of psychological issues. And so Voorcelk also is connected with that lineage of awareness, which goes back, of course, much further to Buddhism and different esoteric traditions. You cannot meditate if you're not able to observe yourself. And that's particularly helpful because the second level, the level of the different parts, it's quite complex because we all have different parts in ourselves, but the parts don't necessarily agree. There can be very opposing parts. Maybe a part that wants to work hard, do a lot of things, get accomplished. And opposite that, there may be a part that likes to relax, be in the nature. Okay? So if there's no awareness, then one may feel like schizophrenic. One moment I feel like working hard, and the next day I feel like relaxing and going to the beach. Am I crazy? No. So it's normal to have different selves, and it's perfectly fine that these selves are have different opinions about life. We call these selves sub-personalities. They are based on the psychological instincts that we call the archetypes. This is a term from Carl Gustav Jung. We see them as energy patterns because they're not just in the mind, they're also connected to our body, our breathing, our moving, the sound of our voice. And these selves we're born with. This is normal in our view. But some selves may be developed more than other selves. And these selves are there to help us survive. We call them primary selves. And this depends very much on your conditioning, on your upbringing. If you're brought up in a family where it's very important to have harmony, then the harmonious parts of you will be nourished like a flower. They get watered. But the parts that are maybe that like to be independent and have their own view and be autonomous, those parts may get judged in that family situation. And when they're judged in a negative way, it causes our pain, emotional pain. We feel expelled, we feel judged, we feel vulnerable. And the way to survive is to put them away. We call it disowned selves. So a disowned self is a part, subpersonality, that's dangerous to allow in a particular situation where we live in. Okay. So if you look at the personality from the perspective of parts or selves, you see that people are built up out of primary selves. Every person has certain disowned selves, and this is normal. It's called conditioning. However, what works when we are 4 years old or 10 years old, it's not necessarily what works when we are 30 or 40, when we've grown up and work, have a family. So these old patterns may be necessary to examine them. And this, of course, you probably encounter when you're a coach. Certain old habits have functioned well, but now it's time for something else, okay? Maybe people get even, we call burnout, very tired because of excessive overactivity of certain parts and not enough space for parts that give energy, like relaxing or enjoying life or being adventurous, okay? So we have selves, primary selves, disowned selves, and also a category we call undeveloped selves. And these are not there because of the timing. And in the course of our lives, certain undeveloped selves will at some point just present themselves. For instance, the part of us that likes to be a parent. When you're 14 years old and it's not there, it's not a problem. And maybe one day you wake up when you're a bit older and suddenly you feel like, oh my God, it would be lovely to be a parent, to have a child. That's an undeveloped self that presents itself. There may be certain parts that have to do with wisdom that can suddenly present themselves either in a dream, a night dream, or just naturally in oneself. You feel a person who has made a big career, made a lot of money, suddenly he or she wakes up and says, I want to do something for the world. I want to do, volunteer work. I want to help the planet, whatever. So that may be another undeveloped self that suddenly pops up. So in voice dialogue, you can encounter all these selves. Important aspect is the level we call vulnerability. I think nowadays it's okay to say that also in coaching. It's not soft, it's not too soft, it's just something very valuable, that we are in touch with our own vulnerability, the part of us that is sensitive. If we can acknowledge it and take care of it, we will be in a much better position to deal with adversities than if we are disowning them. So that's also an important aspect in voice dialogue, helping people to recognize their vulnerability and learning how to take care of it. And we learn how to take care of it. Here we come to the third level. Can we see that? Yeah. Can we see it? Yeah. This is called the aware ego. So that would be like a middle position between, on the one level, awareness, that's just observing, and on the other hand, the world of the selves, with each their own opinion and their own energy. So it's the aware ego is a middle position that can hold tensions, that can be aware of on the part that wants to work hard and the part that wants to rest, or the part that wants to please another person and the part that wants to confront another person. So the aware ego is a middle position that can develop based on the knowledge and experience of these selves. Okay? So in a nutshell, this is our consciousness model, we say that. And yeah, from here it's interesting to see how can it apply to you. Okay, which selves can you recognize? And just put this a little bit inside and come back here. It's the modern technology. And here we go into blending. Okay. So what kind of selves are there? What can you think of? The nice thing in voice dialogue is we are not trying to make a fixed, let's say, scheme that 51 subpersonalities. What I like, and this is also maybe my background from the Tai Chi Chuan martial art, we like principles of consciousness. So a principle is there are certain parts that help us to survive. And this happens unconsciously. So when people start to do voice dialogue, they find their own parts and they give them their own names. Having said that, for this introduction, it may be nice to just mention some parts that we do see regularly, although the form in which they appear can be quite personal. But one self we often see is, we could say it's a control function, the controller. So you may take a moment to see if you recognize in yourself a controller. And if you do so, just take a moment, just move your chair an inch and see if you can feel that controller in yourself. And also see if you can listen, or you can listen what he says or she. What kind of thoughts does the controller have? And if you want, you can speak up and then, you know, put your mic on and just some words. I like to see where you are with it.
Si alguien quiere participar,
En mi caso sí me reconozco con el controller y lo que me dice esa parte es, me da seguridad.
Yeah, in my case, I do recognize the controller, and actually it gives me security.
Okay, yeah. It may be interesting to also see if you allow that part in, how it feels physically and in the body. Yeah. My controller is more upright. Yeah.
There is a comment says, my controller says, I've got plan B for almost everything.
Okay, that sounds good. That's a good idea, actually, to use the chat function for this. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so that's a controller. And if you, probably there would be an opposite energy. What would be the opposite of the controller? Can you find that in yourself? Letting go, relaxing.
Yeah, Jose Luis is saying, good morning. Greetings, everyone from Mexico City.
That's a nice one. Yeah.
there is another comment, I think. Claudia says, my controller, her controller says, you are aware of everything.
Yes, Yes, like an overview controller. So I'll just mention a few more, and you may recognize one more than the other. So controller is something that for a lot of people is a primary self. Another self we meet called the pusher. It makes action, wants to make lists, wants to go to trainings. Very good for the training business and the personal development business to have people have pusher to learn more. Pusher can also be active in your work situation to get things done, to make a career, make lists, things you have to do, to read, to study. It can also push other people. If you have a boss with a pusher, it can push everybody else around. Yeah, so push has a different energy, different way of being in the body than the controller, but often they work together. Opposite the pusher would be the relaxed part. We have the beach bum. I don't know what you have in where you live, Mexico or South America. The surf dude or someone just cool. The pleaser, that's another part that the pleaser is very often concerned with those around us. So the energy is not so much in the body, it's not so centered, it's more, let's say, in the periphery. Some people have very strong developed pleasers. They can almost scan how a person is feeling. They observe, but they can feel, they tune in. Good quality for a coach, though, to scan and feel. Opposite the pleaser, that would be the more selfish part, autonomous. Okay, this is what I want. What's in it for me, rather than looking at the other. And that's also a very different feeling in the body. So these are a few selves. There's much more. You have a perfectionist, for instance, make very precise, an inner critic that can be criticizing inside or outside, criticizing other people. Then it's called a judge. We spoke already about vulnerability. Well, how about your vulnerable child? Do you feel in any way in contact with that? Even if you're now in a webinar, can you feel, how is your inner child doing? Huh? Is it happy? Do you pay any attention to it ever? Can you share the feelings of the vulnerable child with your friend, your friends? Do you contact it before you go, make a plan for the weekend, for instance? So to maintain the contact with the vulnerable child is a big thing. And on the long run, it's a very sustainable process, because if you don't pay attention to the child, you're going to get hurt, or you're going to, be too contracted. The vulnerable child is also the part that makes real intimacy possible. We call it sometimes the window to the soul. And if you maintain the contact with that child, it will, if it's got hurt, it will heal. It will become not a hurt child, but just vulnerable child, just sensitivity. On the level of children, we have also the playful child. Very creative, things out of the box. There's no box, it's just creativity and playfulness, like a child playing with with toys, new possibilities. Yeah, so these are a few selves. Also, there's the domain of power. in coaching, it's very important to also, for the coach, to have access and contact with the theme of power. Power abuse. There are selves that can be powerful and nasty. Jung calls this the shadow. So in voice dialogue, you can also, in a kind of safe way, learn to access these darker sides. The power side, the tyrant, or the Machiavelli, the strategical part, political part. Anyway, so we have this model of all these selves, and you could say there are no bad selves. It's normal that they are there. Some parts can become a little bit twisted because of their survival function. But we cannot get rid of the part itself. We can learn how to deal with it differently through the middle position, the last part I spoke about, the aware ego. Ideally, the aware ego would take the place of the primary selves and learn to be in a more balanced position between selves and opposites. Then the question is, of course, which are my primary selves? How do I know what my primary selves are? Well, most people don't know about it, but there's a nice little exercise that I like to do with you. You in for an exercise? Yay! Okay. This is a classic one in voice dialogue. Take a moment, just last only a few minutes, don't worry. And it's an introduction to think through the spectacle of selves, okay? Okay, so then close your eyes or just relax for a moment. And now invite a person to appear in front of you. And this person is very, very, very irritating. Total irritating person. Pushes your buttons. If you have somebody, please note that I know where you are. Did you find an irritating person? Okay. So now, which aspect is the most irritating? Which behavior of this person is the most irritating? Can you give it a word? Which word pops up with this irritating person? This behavior. Okay, have you got a word? Yeah. Okay, now next question. How should one behave? How should this person behave instead of what they're doing? In other words, what's the rule? How should one behave? And just see what comes up when I ask that question. Which words or word is your rule of behavior? So you got a word? Just nod your head so I know. Okay. Right. So with this exercise, you have now, you can relax now. Let's reflect on it. The person that's irritating, assuming this person is not sitting on your lap right now, I mean, you seem all to be in your own spaces. So it's not an objective nuisance at the moment. But you are triggered by something that this person represents. And the word that comes up, that might be a disowned self of yourself. Okay? Just a hypothesis, just to consider. The rule, how one should behave, that refers to a primary self. Okay. And so this is something one can explore. Okay. When there's a trigger, when there's an irritation, means there's a physical reaction. It's energy. And yeah, so if you do that, we do this when we have more time, we would do this exercise in pairs, okay? And we do a mini coaching session around this exercise. But perhaps, I don't know if you're able now, but think, do you see a polarity between your rule, the word that you have, and the opposite, those things that you don't like? Do you see a polarity? And if so, would you like to share that and make it more interactive with me? That would be nice. Who likes to share that?
Robert, in my case, I
Yes.
got the other person being so insensitive, like she's so insensitive. And then when I tried to do the opposite, one should be empathetic. One should be a very empathetic person.
Okay, yeah. So that would be a polarity. Yeah? The being empathetic would be a starting point in the voice dialogue session, because we always start with what's already there to explore what we think we are. Huh? But in fact, through the spectacles, you could say it's a part that's very strong. One should be empathetic. And then we would express that, explore it. We call stretching, letting it talk a bit more. At some point, ask, when did it come in Ruby's life, this part? When did it come in your life? And explore the history of it. Often there's a connection with some vulnerability. But it's important to see that the person we don't like, let's say the person who is harsh, who's not
Insensitive?
insensitive. Okay. So the idea is that we don't want people to become insensitive, but we could see, is there something we can learn from that? Like taking a small doses, like a homeopathic doses. Is there something we can learn from being insensitive? Just a tiny bit, not the whole full energy, but just a bit of that. And then usually we find, and maybe for you also, that we can learn by maybe not always being empathetic, but maybe have moments of, in fact, a little bit distance and from a middle position, from an aware ego position. Yeah, you can do this exercise by yourself later. It's a classic voice dialogue exercise and based on psychology of selves. Yeah, my experience in the coaching, I often ask a client also when we have our first meeting or intake, tell me, what are your irritations? And so I have a little bit of an idea what might be primary, what might be disowned. And of course, you're much more effective in dealing with the unpleasant energy when you have it also in yourself, because you understand the other person, you understand the enemy. If it's fully disowned, it's impossible to deal with that energy. It causes too many reactions. So that irritating person might be an invitation to learn to embrace what they bring. And it's a process. We speak about the process a bit later. Yeah, so think about it. Another exercise, which is let's say the opposite of this one, if you like, have a minute for that. Now think of a person that you admire. Just invite in your mind's eye a very admirable person. Just see who comes in your vision. And someone is fantastic. Really nice. And then see if there's a word that comes up with this person. You have a word, you can nod your head so I know where you are. Yeah, okay, good. So this energy, it's an energy. You admire a person, you admire a certain quality, a certain energy. It's also something that's in you. Otherwise, you could not admire it. It's something that resonates. So we can also see that as a self. Maybe it's an undeveloped self. It's dormant, or maybe it's in motion, and it's stimulated by this admirable person. And but of course, it's something in you as well. Maybe there's something blocking it. Says, well, that I could never be so whatever spiritual or centered as this person. Then you have maybe an inner critic. But the fact that you admire it means it's inside. Yeah, so voice dialogue is a dialogue with yourselves, with the help of a facilitator. But it's really a dialogue with everything around oneself. And I studied the work of Krishnamurti when I was much younger. It's an Eastern wise person, supposedly. And one of the books was I Am the World, okay? Meaning, whatever you see, it's inside. And voice dialogue is a very nice tool to like differentiate the different aspects that are inside and bring them forward in a very exploratory way. And but yeah, so the next phase would be to speak a little bit about how we do that. But for now, does anybody have any questions, or do you want to share something before we move on? Everything clear? Okay. Would you like to see a demonstration session? Hello there.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So before the demo, I do a demo with Ruby, as we announced. Just a little bit about the facilitation process. Voice dialogue is in the coaching, we could say it's used in the field of personal coaching. I mean, if you do any kind of coaching, you could bring that in when the client has a dilemma or some question about whether to do this or that, choices, work-life balance. And the process is as follows. You don't go immediately into voice dialogue. You start with a conversation, let's say a normal conversation. And then the coach, in the voice dialogue, we call it the facilitator, the voice dialogue facilitator, is looking through the spectacles of these selves, like which selves are present in this dilemma of my client. And from these selves, what might be primary selves? Selves that are important for the survival. What might be disowned selves? Maybe the disowned selves really want to live, but maybe it's difficult to integrate them. So you always start with a conversation. And then you make a little bit of we call mapping. You make a map with different possibilities, different circles for each self that you recognize as circle. So normally in coaching, this would last the first session. We don't go poof immediately to the chair and selves work. But for the demo, we go a bit quicker. And because Ruby has done this before. So once we have established a connection, then we choose a part to talk to. The client moves the chair to another physical position. So we call it also chair work, okay? So it could be the chair, it could be a couch, it could be somebody. If you're familiar with this, the client says, well, no, he's standing over there, or he's sitting on the floor, or she. So you take a different physical position. Then the facilitator welcomes the part as if it's a real person, okay? And this gives this, the part feels recognized. So you welcome it, hello. And then you start a conversation with this part. And the facilitator uses the language that fits with the part. So if you talk to a controller that we spoke about, you talk a bit like, you know, your own controller is present. If you talk to a 5-year-old child, you also engage in a, let's say, in a softer way. So you tune in, and we have a whole, let's say, a lot of knowledge and exercises how to do this properly. Resonance and induction, we call it. Some people do it just organically. They do it naturally. But you can also refine it and learn that. Anyway, so we go to a demo. And then probably it's the best to pin both the client, Ruby, and the facilitator, myself. And so that will be a short demo. Normally in the practice in my office, we would do 1 hour, maybe. So for this, we do it a bit shorter, for you to get an idea of at least 2 different selves, okay? And how we do the conversation. Just a taste. Yeah, so you can pin. Do you know how to do that?
Yes, now we can see both of you.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Ruby.
Hi, Robert.
Well, you've done this before. How are you doing?
Good, good. Excited. Happy to see you here.
Yeah. Do you have something you like to explore for this session?
Sure. Lately, my schedule is so full. I have so many commitments. I keep running from one meeting to another meeting. I keep putting myself with lots of to-dos. And at the end of the day, I find myself like still having so much to do, and I want to go and do exercise. I want to go and, enjoy myself, but I still have so much to do. And then I look back and I say, how my day went off? How come my day just disappeared in front of me? And then I see my schedule and it's meeting after meeting after meeting. So yeah, definitely I'm having too many things around, scheduling too many things around.
Okay, so there's a part of you that makes your schedule.
Yeah. And I just every invitation I receive, I like to participate. Like I've got, of course, my clients, that's one thing, but I also get lots of I have groups of people. I participate in projects and I like to participate. So I say yes. And then I've got my commitments with family, and they want to talk to me because, hey, I'm the coach, maybe I have to talk to Ruby about this. And I say, sure, let's talk about it. And somehow that's how my schedule gets filled out.
So it's on the one hand, it's a schedule, and on the other hand, you're kind of responding to people's questions. When they ask your help or they want to do something with you or invite you for a seminar, you tend to say yes very easily.
Yeah, too easily.
Huh?
Too easily. I normally once I get invited to something, the first thing I go, let me check my schedule so I can accommodate you in. That's kind of my first reaction. How can I accommodate you? How can I make this happen?
Okay, yeah. And then you do it.
And then I do it, but I'm exhausted. I am so tired. I really need time for myself. I really need to find a way to make it easier on me.
Yeah. Okay, well, it seems there's a part that easily accepts invitations. It doesn't think about what it means in terms of your rest and energy. It's just alive and it says, yeah, let's go ahead with that. And then later you're exhausted and you may have, there may be another part there that needs more rest and would like it differently. What would you like to happen?
Well, I would like to find a way that I can just maybe say no, or maybe say this week, at least think about it, like this week is full. Maybe later, or I don't know, maybe I want to participate. I'm already participating like in 7 projects myself.
Okay, so there's a primary self that says easily yes. And so there's no space for reflection from the middle position, taking into account the other one. So this is a good polarity for voice dialogue. So let's talk to the part first who says yes and goes along with all these projects. Can you move your chair a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, so Ruby, move to the little bit to the left from here. So take a moment to be present. You're a part of Ruby. You get excited about new projects and when people ask you. Welcome.
Hello.
Yeah. Can you tell me, how do you do that? How do you operate? Give an example.
Well, yeah, Ruby needs to be out there and move. She works on her own. She has her own business. Of course, when people invite her to do stuff, of course, it's important that she participates. And of course, her family, her friends sometimes want to talk to her, and she's got tools, she can help. So I like her when she helps people. I like her when she has a good relationship with people and collaborators and peers and everyone.
Okay, so on the one hand, it's about being part of things as she's working for herself to not miss out. And then on the other hand, it's also about using her tools, and it feels like a bit of responsibility there.
Yeah, because she's in this path and she put herself on the path of helping others. So then she should have time to give a little bit of her time to others, and to projects that she cares about and to people that she cares about.
Tell me a little bit more, if you like, about the path of help. What does that mean?
Well, you see, she enjoys like helping and supporting, and that means if there are projects out there that need to be taken care of, she can participate and contribute and add value. Why not? And if people can feel better after having a conversation with her, maybe people can feel heard or somehow comforted, and that only takes a conversation for her to do. Yeah, I am all for that.
Okay, so a rule seems for you have to help other people when they're in need.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's actually like there's almost two things combined. Can you feel that? The first one was like, I don't want to miss out. And the second one is, so in a way, it's almost like two sides even within you.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Well, let's stay with your, the responsibility to help. And do you have an image of yourself when you feel yourself? How do you feel in the body physically?
Yeah, I guess I feel like someone who can take care of others. So
Mhm.
someone who is like a helper, helper. Um, yeah, I actually see myself like a big ear. Like I can listen. I can be a big
A,
ear.
a
Big
big ear.
ear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice symbol. Yeah. Yeah. So you can listen very well. You hear a lot. Okay. And how often are you there? How much percent of the time are you present in Ruby's life?
Ooh, every day. Every day I'm there, Every time she gets invitations, I'm there with her clients. Also, when she works with them, I'm there with, people invite her out, even to socialize. I'm like, sure, let's do it. Let's go.
So if she's socializing, you're also listening to what people may need or so? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because sometimes when people reach out and they may need some time to relax and I can also help with that. Sure.
Okay. So even if she's on a whatever dinner party, you might be present.
Yeah,
And
yesterday it happened. She was tired, and then a friend called her and say, "Hey, why don't we go for a drink?" And I say, "Let's go." I mean, obviously she wants to talk, and probably she needs to,
yeah.
somehow tell you stuff. And yeah, why not?
Okay. Wow. So you're really friendly and helpful person. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah. And do you remember since when are you with Ruby? Have you always been there, or was there a time that that you suddenly appeared?
Long time since I remember. She has been always someone who likes to be with other people, and she likes to have a good harmonious ambience around
Yeah.
her, and she likes to collaborate with other. She's a team player. She's a good friend. She's always surrounded with friends and
Right.
people and projects.
Yeah. And did you have any inspiration? From whom did you learn this?
Maybe my mom. Maybe her mom.
Okay.
Her mom was always. Her mom had like 14 siblings,
Okay.
and so there were a lot of people always
In her
around.
mother's family, there were 14.
Yeah, 14. And then now that I'm thinking, her father's side also, there's like 8 siblings. So there's always a lot of people around,
And
uncles,
they were all
aunts,
nice
cousins.
with each other, or
Yeah, in general, it was good times. Yeah.
okay. Well, so it's kind of a family thing. You're inherited something from both your parents about being nice, or being responsible, being attentive, listening.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking, every single activity that was done was surrounded by with people and caring for people and celebrating birthdays and making sure we were present for everyone. So
Okay. Yeah. So now I understand from Ruby that there's also another side, that sometimes she's very exhausted and tired, and that she wants to do less. How would that be for you if she is less ear with others?
yeah, that could be also, but then she will be missing on
Yeah,
activities and
what is your vulnerability? What's your fear if let's say you're less present, and if she chooses sometimes the other part, what might happen to you?
well, could be maybe people think I'm not there for them. You know, like it's important to be there for people and on their important moments, on their difficult moments. So maybe people think I'm not there for them.
And what's the worst that they can think of Ruby?
That she's selfish,
Okay.
that she doesn't care.
That she doesn't care. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. And how is that to say that? Well, how do you feel?
Yeah, that's something I don't want to happen because I do care. Like I
You
care for
genuinely
others.
care. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if she was take a night off and let's say yesterday her girlfriend had called and she had said, well, I'm too tired to go, let's do another time.
Well, she did go out and she did had a good time. And of course she's tired, but it was an important moment. Her friend had some important news and things she wanted to share. And I think it was the right thing to do.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's go back to Ruby. So Ruby's now moving back to the middle. Okay, here in the middle, just take a moment, Ruby, to feel yourself in the middle, the center, and feel if there's any difference with the previous part.
Yeah, this part of me was very soft and very like yeah, I could sense how she was always thinking of others, kind of like even worried about others. You know, even the possibility of saying no to the reunion with her friend was like, no, that's not a possibility. So I can sense how this part is quite soft, very, very loving, very loving part of me.
Yeah, so it seems it's a very big, if in percentages, it would be almost, people would think this is Ruby, huh?
Yeah, that's how she feels like, yeah, this is me.
So how do you feel about what you brought in earlier? Is there an opposite to this?
Yeah, I can see how it's affecting me now. I'm exhausted. I'm quite tired.
Okay. So there's another part that really feels tired and needs something else, apparently.
Yeah, I definitely need to manage better the way I accept things and the way I just, without even thinking about it, I just go, sure, let's do it.
Well, let's move to that other part that seems to be exhausted. Just move to it, yeah. So Ruby's moving to the right, yeah. Okay, welcome.
Hello.
Just see if you can be here and also in the body, in Ruby's body.
Yeah, I'm here.
How are you doing?
Tired. I'm so tired.
Where do you feel that? How do you feel it?
The back, the shoulders feel like tense. A little bit of my back, and my eyes. My eyes feel like they're sunken. Like
So if you were there, if you had a day for yourself without having to do anything, what would you like to do? What comes up?
just relax. Like take the day off. Um, yeah, just don't worry about it. Like kind of totally block anything related to commitments.
So if you could, do magic, how much time what would be a nice period for you to recover?
I think On weekends, it happens. It's during weekdays that needs to happen. During weekdays, during work days, there should be more balance. Cannot be just activity after activity after activity. You know, it has to be some like time to recover, times to recover in between.
So what would be a nice time of the day for that? I mean, you don't have to solve a problem now, but just what comes up. What time of kind of the day do you like? What time of the day?
Well, if she's doing a project, an important project, let's keep one per day at least. Like, don't put 2, 3 of them at the same day. You know, kind of scatter a little bit more the projects and the responsibilities. And also, I mean, like my body is tired. Like, listen more to the body.
Where do you feel it in the body? Where do you feel that?
Yeah, the back, the shoulders, the eyesight feels tired. My eyes feel like tired.
Yeah. So if you were not controlling anything, how would you sit? What would happen?
Whew, I will take this off and it'll be just like,
Just that's a 5 minutes like this. I'll take responsibility, bring you back later.
yeah, my eyesight.
Yeah. Just feel your breathing.
I'm feeling better.
It's already feeling better.
The eyes, for
Yeah.
sure.
You like to close your eyes, huh?
Hmm.
Yeah. How about your ears? How's that doing?
That's good. Ears are good.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to say to Ruby?
Yeah, she definitely needs to she needs to put more time for herself, not only for everyone else out there.
And for
She
you?
really, yeah, and for me to just rest, for resting. Come on.
You have an image of yourself? Just feel, what comes up.
Yeah, we could be meditating together. You know, we could be just meditating together a little bit. You know, just little stops in the day, so she doesn't have to be rushing all the time, like worry about what's next, what's next, what's next.
You like some little breaks also?
Yeah, that's it. It's the way she manages her days. There are so much rush, so much jumping from one thing to the other, without really taking time to be
How
more.
would the ideal day look like for you? Let's assume she's working, but just if there's more space for you, how would it look like?
Oh yeah, she can have her sessions. She works with clients, but maybe she can give herself like at least 15 minutes after every sessions, or even 30 minutes in between. When she's gonna work with a project, she can start relaxing for 30 minutes before jumping into the project.
You like these breaks, huh?
Yeah.
These in between times. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that could help her be more centered and be more with this energy of calmness.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Let's go back to the middle. Yeah, hi Ruby. Just feel the middle position now. And see how it's in the middle now. How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So
Yeah, this part this part was tired, super tired.
It's interesting when you're in the other part, you don't feel the tiredness, huh?
No, not at all. It was more like lobbying and very like let's
Yeah.
and even enthusiastic, kind of like what else can we do and how can we help? And it's super like I didn't feel anything here.
No,
But this one here
that's
was
also the other one is also the last one is also the body, right?
yes.
Your body energy. Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as I moved here, I got like a weight on me, and then I got my eyes starting like going like tired, like it was very like different energy between these two.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So for the demonstration, I think this is in terms of the parts, it's fine, don't you think?
I think so.
And I'd like to do briefly to demonstrate the awareness position. And normally we do this when we are working on location. The client sits next to the facilitator, which is next to me, which will be a little bit difficult now. So just move an inch backward, just go a little bit back. So you're separate from the aware ego, you're separate from the two different selves. And awareness position, we do it regularly if people have worked with opposites. And then it's like a small mindful moment of awareness, and the facilitator then gives a summary. So in this position, the client doesn't need to do anything. It's like vacation. And the facilitator does a wrap up, okay? And so I'll do that now. So we spoke to Ruby. I spoke to Ruby. And she mentioned this sometimes lack of energy and doing a lot, rushing a lot. We spoke to the part that does that, primary self, moved a little bit to the right. And there were actually two parts. There was a part that is afraid to miss out, and there's a part that's more responsible and likes to help people. So we spoke to the last part. We didn't speak to the first part longer. That may be something for another moment. But we spoke to the helper, the big ear that's there, which somehow inherited from the parents, those families. And it's without thinking, just one has to help and be there and take care of friends and others. Interestingly, that part doesn't feel the tiredness, but feels enthusiasm. Then we went back to the middle. So she felt a difference. And then we looked for the opposite one, the body that was more to the other side. And that wanted to close her eyes and just do nothing. And feels the physical, exhaustion and the tiredness. And she likes to have breaks during the day to breathe and just, have space also. And she would love also to be there sometime after in the weekend or meditation. And then we went back to the middle. So in the middle, there's the aware ego. So you can go back to the aware ego and move forward. So this is a classical voice dialogue session. After the awareness, you come back to where you started. And then the facilitator asked, how are you doing? Your sound is off.
Sorry. I'm doing better actually. That was quite interesting to see how when I accept things, I don't feel tired. That's why I keep accepting things. I'm like, sure, no problem, no problem. And then if I pay more attention to this other one that it really feels exhausted, like pay attention to how my body, my eyesight is feeling, that's definitely a much way more balanced way of looking to new invitations.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Let's see if there are any questions from the participants. And I will unhook you from my pin. And then
Thank you, Robert.
you're welcome. And I'll move my attention to the other participants. Yeah. Are there any comments or questions? Could you, well, maybe first of all, could you feel and see the difference between the three positions? Yeah.
Delia is saying, well, it's in English, sorry.
Yeah, so we have some chats. That's good. Any questions?
Aquí, pues, sí, Josefina.
Ok, la voy a hacer en español porque si no, a lo mejor no la hago como quiero. Cuando te sitúas en el ayudador, ¿no? Y esa energía está más alta, y claro, ves la diferencia cuando es el cansancio. Pero cuando te sitúas ahí, lo que quiere decir ahí es que tengo esa duda, si la energía también te indica cómo te quieres ver ante los demás con esa energía.
She's asking, when I go into this part of me that is more like a helper, and once I'm there, is that energy telling me, how do I look like to others? And that's a good question. Es una buena pregunta, Josefina. Te podría decir que no tengo tanto la vista de los demás como yo y mi responsabilidad con esa persona. Que esa persona, sí me importa lo que esa persona piense de mí, sí, aunque no tanto lo que los demás piensen de mí.
Pero eso te da energía de sentir que yo lo voy a ayudar y eso te mueve.
Sí, me siento muy feliz de poder sentir que estamos haciendo algo juntos o que te estoy ayudando. Sí, yeah. So when she asks, like, that gives me energy to feel the other person is happy with me, or that and I go, yes. I don't care much about what other may think, but to me it's very important that the person I'm helping is happy with me, and that fits me on energy, and I feel good. Yeah. Muy buena pregunta, Josefina.
Gracias.
Yeah, in Voice Dialogue we talk also about sustainability, like the psychological ecosystem. And on the long run, we have more energy when there are more parts present. Okay. I work sometimes, some clients of mine, they have burnout. And burnout is that some primary selves have been very, very active for a long time, and they didn't listen to the body. So later the body can have like a revenge, then they cut down the whole system and the person needs to rest for a couple of months. And if you do that before that happens, by tuning into the body and these parts earlier, you will have a longer future, let's say, in good health.
Thank you.
¿Alguna otra pregunta? Con gusto puedo ayudar.
Maria?
También le hago la pregunta en español. Hola, Ruby, profesor Robert. Em, Hoy trajiste una situación que para ti es relativamente fácil de ver, pero a veces tienes otras situaciones que no son tan evidentes y hay necesidad de ponerlas sobre la mesa. ¿Cómo haces como para encontrar esa voz que está haciendo ruido, pero que no la tienes tan clara?
Yeah, Maria Isabel said, today I brought a situation that is quite clear for me, and that was faster to go to the essence of the situation. But what do you do when the other person doesn't have this as clear? Like what's the situation?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for the demo, we did a clear situation, so you can see the shifting of the chairs. But you can also use voice dialogue in more complex situations. And then we start with a more thorough conversation to make this map, the mapping. Okay. Yeah, so the first session could be all about that. And then the second session might be clarifying things with voice dialogue. If you're interested, there we just wrote a book about different applications, but I think it's only in English. But a lot of applications and examples based on the same idea. So based on the concept, you can, it's like playing music, you see? First you learn the tunes, and then you learn harmonies and you can improvise. For me, I'm not only doing voice dialogue, okay? I like the system of psychology of selves as a diagnostic tool. But in my coaching and I'm also a psychotherapist, I do the both. In this, I use whatever is the best for the client. So it doesn't have to be always one method. But I think with this psychology of self, you can go quite far. And you can also do coaching where you sometimes dive a little bit deeper than just the result-oriented coaching. You can sometimes, we call coaching with a therapeutic touch. You can sometimes go to someone's vulnerability in one session, not like a psychotherapist, but just to make the person aware that there is this vulnerability that they need to take care of, and then get, you know, more to the surface again with this knowledge. In case you want to learn this work, the approach is always that if you're like a coach or a therapist, first get a few sessions yourself. It's also my ethical standard. Don't do anything without somebody that you haven't experienced yourself. And if you do a session yourself, you can test it for yourself because you bring in the topic that's alive for yourself. So you bring in the topic, you find a good facilitator, experienced facilitator, and then you get the, we call, the proof is in the eating. Bring in a topic, explore it in a session, and see if it brings something to you. So this is always the beginning. And then, of course, if you want to learn this to apply it in your coaching practice, you need training. And then all these clinical questions and coaching questions can come up. What do you do with this topic? What you would do with that problem? But you can get quite far with the voice dialogue. Maybe you can share something about it, Ruby, because you've been training about half a year so far, 3/4 of a year, how you use it in your coaching?
Thank you. Para mí, en verdad, ha sido una herramienta muy poderosa al momento de incorporarla en mis sesiones de coaching. Obviamente, la facilitación es mucho más larga en tiempo, mas sin embargo, con ciertos ejercicios o incluso simplemente haciendo que un cliente identifique que hay una parte suya que quiere esto, aunque las demás no estén de acuerdo, y podamos solamente en una sesión platicar con esta parte suya, es una apertura de conciencia para la persona de, wow, es esta parte mía que quiere esto, no necesariamente las demás lo quieren, pero la entiendo de dónde viene. Y entonces ya pasamos a esta parte que le llamamos el ego consciente o la parte media, la que se da cuenta, el observador. Y el observador es el que luego decide qué hacer con esta información. Para mí ha sido poderosísimo. Muchísimos de mis clientes me han dicho que de nuestras sesiones de coaching y de todas las herramientas que les presento, esta es la que más les deja autoconocimiento y con la que en verdad pueden hacer luego cambios.
Sounds good to me.
Good, Robert. Good Spanish. ¿Alguna otra pregunta, duda?
Yeah, I think, well, time's up almost. If you want to know more, you can ask Ruby in Mexico and or look on the internet. I'm very glad. Thank you for the invitation for ICF.
Yeah.
Tenemos aquí en la pantalla la información de la página de Robert, donde pueden encontrar, tiene muchísimo aprendizaje gratuito, grabaciones. También vienen sus datos y mis datos para cualquier duda que puedan tener al respecto. Muy agradecidos con Luis y con ICF por la oportunidad.
No, muchas gracias. Estuvo muy bien.
Okay. Thank you very much, Robert. It was a great session. Thank you very much, Ruby. Muchas gracias a todos, a todas por haber acompañado el día de hoy. Y recuerden, no se pierdan nuestras próximas sesiones. El día de hoy por la tarde vamos a tener a Giovanna Ortega con Emprende con Pasión. Y mañana tenemos una super sesión de cultivar la felicidad en el trabajo y el camino del bien vivir. No se las pierdan. Si no se han inscrito, consulten las redes sociales. Aquí ya tienen por último otra vez los datos de Robert. Cualquier duda o si no los alcanzan a copiar, por favor me los pueden pedir. Con mucho gusto se los pasamos. Muchas gracias a todos. Muchas gracias por su participación. De nuevo, gracias Ruby. Gracias Robert.
Thank you.
Hasta
Thank you
la
very much.
próxima.
Muchas gracias. Thank you,